Welcome back to Delicious and Nutritious, where we use the healthiest ingredients to cook the tastiest in food. And today, one of my favorites. I literally don't really go too many days without eating this, and it is going to be sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, I absolutely love them, and one of my favorite ways to make sweet potatoes is going to be sweet potato fries. So, contrary to the traditional potato that is cooked in something like a fast food restaurant where it is fried in oil, deep fried, and although maybe you have come accustomed to that type of flavor, texture, and other things like that, unfortunately, those foods are not very healthy for you. So we're gonna have two different types of sweet potatoes today, actually, depending on which one you like, and you guys can play around with it. We have the traditional sweet potato slash yam that is going to be the orange color, and then we're also gonna use a Hannah sweet potato that is going to be a white sweet potato. That's gonna be one of my favorite ones, and then also you can use purple sweet potatoes as well, which all can be bought, from what I've seen, usually at Whole Foods, and they all do come organic, which is definitely a major plus for all of us trying to stay as healthy as possible. So let's jump right in. Preset 380 degrees up front, okay? So now we have to look at the sweet potatoes. So we have the Hannah sweet potato, which is large, and we did not have big regular sweet potatoes, so we have small ones. So we're gonna check out the Hannah sweet potatoes today. So I cut them by hand. The other things that we're gonna need: a knife, cutting board. I suggest you guys have parchment paper. The parchment paper that I use is If You Care. There's a couple additions that we're gonna make. Staples are going to be refined coconut oil, very important. As always, Himalayan or gray sea salt, very important. And then there's gonna be a couple add-ons that you can do as well. So we have garlic powder, granules, I like the granules, which would go together with the parsley. So parsley on regular sweet potatoes is super tasty. You can also do it on a Hannah as well, but the garlic, salt, and parsley combination, extremely good. But if you wanna have a little bit more of a sweet, kind of desserty sweet potato, you can do a little bit of sea salt and a little bit of cinnamon. It's definitely gonna be a little bit different of a recipe. And then last but not least, you need a baking dish. The goal here is to cut this potato to be able to have very, very similarly cut pieces. We do not want to have like a couple pieces that are large and a couple pieces that are not large. Sweet potatoes are one of the ones that are a little bit challenging to cut. I'm using a Santoku knife. There you go. You definitely are gonna wanna try the Hannah sweet potatoes. I think they're really tasty. I actually prefer them over regular sweet potatoes. But it's gonna be personal preference here. So then you can just go through and maybe I missed one like this. That seems a little bit bigger. And we need to put the parchment paper into the glass dish. So now, what we are gonna do here is we're gonna put all the sweet potatoes in. The goal is to have them relatively spaced out. We wanna make sure that they all cook. They are gonna shrink down, so just keep that in mind. And this is why I suggest having two pans, because look, we didn't even get half of the sweet potato, and there we are like that. So these sweet potatoes are gonna go into the oven, 380 degrees for approximately 40 minutes. The goal and what you want it to look like is you want it to look like it's slightly starting to dry out. The reason being is because then we're gonna coat it in the coconut oil, and as they are drying out, coating it with the coconut oil kind of condenses them and makes them a little bit more like fries. Because if you start putting coconut oil on them now, what I've seen is it kind of starts to make them a little goopy, and we're trying to avoid that. So we're trying to shrink the sweet potato to kind of get it that nice outside slight crustiness, right before it dries out, and then we put the oil on and then we rehydrate it, and then it comes out amazing. So into the oven. And here we have it, sweet potato fries. Look at the shrink on those, right? You see what I'm talking about? They're just starting to dry up. Get them into the bowl, and we need to then coat them with coconut oil and shake them up a little bit. Coconut oil in there. I put about teaspoon and a half. The goal is not really to drench them, it's just to coat them. And then we're going to shake them up. You can move it around with your hand if you'd like. And then right back in there. So now notice, they have a little glisten to them. Now we're putting them back into the oven, and we will be right back to finish them off. And the sweet potato fries, look at this. it cooks down from all those fries into this right here. This particular one right here is going to be one that was way too small, right? So this is the one thing you have to monitor. One thing that you could do, obviously you want the temperature and the time, right? So we did 380 degrees. We did it for a grand total of, this is 23 minutes. So you see they're a little bit more hard. If you don't want them this crispy and hard, what you can do, turn down the temperature just a little bit to 370, and you can cook them for about 15 to 20 minutes. Like I said, everybody's oven's gonna differ a little bit, but you have to kind of get down your oven. Then you want to take them out and let them chill for a second before you bring them over here, adding some salt. So do you guys wanna make these salty fries, or do you want to give them a little bit more flavor? If you're going to go with the parsley and the garlic granules, what I would suggest you guys do, cook them a little bit less. Then I would throw a pan on, I'd put coconut oil in there. I would put the fries in there until the pan gets hot. Once the pan's hot, then I would throw in the parsley as well as the garlic and the salt, and I would coat them until the parsley gets a little bit of saturation in it. So we're not gonna do that today. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna throw in a little bit of sea salt. The sweet potato fry. Love it. Amazing, slightly crunchy. I love these Hannah sweet potatoes. They're absolutely great. And so if you want it a little bit less chippy / hard fry, just cook it a little bit less. I prefer mine a little bit crunchier. I like the consistency of it, and it's super good. Additionally, the Hannah sweet potato gets a little bit more of like a chestnut flavor. So if you're going for a little bit different than a traditional sweet potato, the Hannah is gonna be something you wanna try out. I suggest trying it out anyway. The traditional sweet potato is a little bit more sweet, like typically what you're used to.